All right, my friends, welcome back to Frog Boy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about the video I made yesterday. So I made the video, the Cyberpunk, showing the difference between AMD and the Nvidia GeForce GPUs when trying to produce FSR. Now, I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that video from people in the community. A lot of you guys want to see more of those. So here's the thing. Like, I don't mind making those videos. They do take time. They are, I literally have to go through games and find stuff to like show you the differences between like FSR running on an Nvidia card versus FSR running on an AMD card. And obviously it's not really that fair, just due to the fact that like, well, I mean, it's not that it's not fair. I mean, my Nvidia GeForce is the 4070 Super. I am limited by a 12 gigabyte VRAM buffer, and I feel like they're easier to produce at 4K. It's just easier for me to capture footage from both cards. I have a capture card, but my capture card does not have DisplayPort. So trying to get those at 1440p or whatever. I mean, I guess I could run it through HDMI to the monitor. Maybe I can. I'll have to experiment. But like I said, like the experimentation, finding the games, doing all of this stuff to try to produce these videos is absolutely time consuming, and it requires a lot of research and then like trying to get things to line up perfectly. But it is good practice, and I do like doing that. But how would you guys feel now that I know that I can show you guys the difference in color? Because I mean, we could see it on the AMD card versus the Nvidia card just on that Cyberpunk video that I put out. Do you guys think I should keep banging on about that? Like, should I keep banging on about the colors and the other things when it comes to AMD Radeon versus Nvidia? I know that this is a very, very controversial topic, and a lot of people out there that are just like, no, man, I'm not going to believe it. Reputable YouTube channels have already debunked this. Look, I'm not saying that they were wrong, okay, when they did that, but I think they were showing off Overwatch when they did this. And here's the thing, guys, like, I've bought multiple GPUs from both Nvidia and AMD, okay? And if I can literally sit here on my Nvidia GPU on the same screen that I'm using right now for my AMD stuff, and I could turn that on, complete different build, and notice that when I go from one build to another, I notice immediately better 3D pop, better visuals, better overall just texture representation from the AMD side. Like, I can see these natively from my own eyes, and I mean, I'm like just sitting there at a pretty normal distance. I can see a difference. Okay. Now I know that people could say, oh, but you're colorblind or something like that. And no, that's not the case at all. I can definitely see a distinct level of image quality going from one to another. It is pretty, well, okay, so I was checking out Assassin's Creed. I'll actually have some footage of Assassin's Creed Odyssey running right now, okay? So I put on Assassin's Creed Odyssey on the 4070 Super, and I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at this game, and I'm just looking at it, you know, and I'm like looking out across the world and all of this stuff. And man, I've played this game on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox One X, Xbox Series. Actually, no, I didn't play this one on the PlayStation 4. I haven't played this on a PlayStation at all. I played this on the Xbox One X. I played this on Xbox Series X. I played this on an Nvidia GPU and the Radeon GPUs. And even in the distance, when I'm looking out across the valley on the Nvidia GPU, it just looks like there is less overall distant detail in this image quality. And then when I look at it on the Radeon GPU, I can see, whether it's freaking minute or not, there is extra texture detail in the AMD side. Now, when we get to colors, okay, and this is what I need you to understand, is when you are looking at, when you first set it up and you get in there and you don't do anything else with any of the colors or anything like that, you get in and you look at both of these cards on their default settings. I'm not going to say default, because default doesn't even give you the full color space for NVIDIA. You have to change that, and that is changed on my NVIDIA GPUs to try to make it at least a somewhat fair representation of what NVIDIA actually does once you get in there and set up your settings. So with the default settings, with the slight tweaks to the NVIDIA card, you can tell that there's a distinct overall look in the way both of these GPUs produce the colors. Now, in camera space, it's called color science. Every different camera has a color science. It's the same thing for displays. Every display has their own way that they produce color science. That's why there's people out there that calibrate the overall colors and everything for these displays. Like, you can get professional calibration stuff to do that. On the camera, there's LUTs. You use LUTs and you get into a space like something like DaVinci Resolve. As long as you're shooting in S-Log or whatever on Sony, you can get in there and you can play with the LUTs, and you can change the color science and all of that. As you can see, like right now, the camera that I'm using is the Sony FX30. I've got this set to picture profile 11, and that gives me a pretty good representation of the colors. But if I was to be shooting on my ZVE1 or my ZVE10, and I'm sitting there and I use that, and that's only 8-bit. This is a 10-bit. So if I'm using that, then that gives me 8-bit colors, which is really punchy and all of that stuff. Like, it makes the colors really punchy. It adds a nice little contrast ratio. Whereas the FX30 gives me a more not necessarily like super bold color, but it does give me enough color to represent the overall experience that I have here in the studio. The purple light behind me, the blue shirt that I'm wearing, all of that, you can see that very, very well. Now, when I'm looking at the overall color representation from the NVIDIA GPU versus the AMD GPU, now I have tried, and I will continue trying to make the colors as close to the AMD experience on the NVIDIA GPU as I possibly can. The closest I have been able to get is by utilizing 70% on the digital vibrance. There is a saturation slider in NVIDIA, but that seems to absolutely do nothing. Because I've taken that from 50 to 100 and I see no difference when I'm adjusting that. The only adjustment that I get is from digital vibrance. Now, if I get into the NVIDIA card and I look at that and I play around with like the RTX or the shaders or anything, I don't like the shaders. I think the shaders are absolute trash. I've tried those. For some reason, they make things look worse. Like I tried them, I was playing around with and on a recent game like Stalker 2, I was playing around with those, and I just don't like I don't like what the shaders do. I personally think that the main artists that build these games, they already do a good enough job. The only thing that feels lacking to me is a little bit more saturation. AMD makes that completely easy. I just slide a slider and boom, colors are more vibrant, they're more punchy, they're more full, and they look more they just look better. It just amplifies that overall color, and it gives me the image quality that I'm looking for when I play my games. Now, obviously, if you get into an NVIDIA, like an NVIDIA GPU, and you're playing something on Unreal Engine 5, you know, that realistic look, it does good. It does good. I mean, you can look at that and be like, oh my gosh, that's good. But I still like that little bit more punchy color when I am looking at some of these colors from the way these GPUs are producing them. Now, obviously, my screens are pretty simple. I've got an LG C2. I've got that set up, and everything's applied the same on both inputs. I have the LG 39-inch ultra-wide OLED monitor. Absolutely incredible. I've got that one freaking set up. I think I got it set up on a Vivid profile or Gamer 1 profile, and I haven't gotten there and set up anything else. And then I also have the 1440p LG IPS monitor, which on that one there, it looks pretty dang good when you're using SDR or HDR. HDR looks pretty good. My thing with HDR, guys, is I like the wider color gamut. That's always been my thing. Like the wider color gamut. I like the brightness and the darkness and all of that stuff, but that is second fiddle to me when it comes to color gamut, right off the bat. So I want to know, guys, if these videos are something that you want to watch, and would you watch them? Would you share them? Would you comment on them? Would you help bring awareness to the AMD experience from my point of view. I mean, and because this is all subjective, obviously, these are my opinions. These are what my eyes see. I want to see if I want to see if your eyes see the same thing that I see. Because here's the thing, guys. Visuals are always going to be, let's put it, they're always going to be subjective. You're either going to like them or you're not. There's games that look really, really good, but I feel like the sharpness and the crispness and the clinical look that DLSS brings to the table, I feel like it strips a little bit of that out. I feel like it strips out I feel like it kind of strips out that 3D atmospheric vibe that you get from a little bit of blur here, or a little bit of out of focus there, or a little bit of bokeh or something that actually kind of makes the image quality pop more on an AMD GPU, because it is taking more of this information and putting it in there. You know, like the tricks that the developers use to hide some of the imperfections in the overall image quality. DLSS comes in and makes those bold and pronounced, and they're just boom, they're in your face right there. You can see them, because it strips out some of that blur. All the blur that you guys talk about, you don't want to see that blur. That blur is strategically put there for a specific reason, to amplify the overall visual quality of the game. That is part of the game. That is part of the original developer's overall look for that game. And if you've got a developer out there, like take Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, for instance, okay? They bring the game out, they use that over blurry TAA. Obviously, the people building that game thought that looked good to them. They liked that. They appreciated that. Now, it was rough on a 4K display. I admit that. Like, it was hard for me to play that at 4K. But when I put it on the 1440p monitor, instantly it made sense. I was like, okay, this looks a lot better. I could play through this. And then they brought out the other feature where you could make it look sharper. They would call back on some of that. And now you have the version on the PlayStation 5 Pro, which brings in PSSR, which cleans that up even more. Now that's a lot cleaner, but it still has that softness to the image that makes it look good. Now when I'm playing that on an Nvidia GPU versus an AMD GPU, both of the image quality looks pretty good on that game. So that's another one that I want to make a video on. Obviously, some of these older Assassin's Creed games that didn't even have upscaling. I mean, well, obviously, I think they did have a form of FSR, like FSR1 or something, especially in like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But that game is something that I really want to show you guys, because I was playing around with that yesterday, running around on my Nvidia build. And then I instantly switched over to the AMD build, and I'm like, wow, this is a difference. This is a difference. So you can see a difference in these games. So I just want to know if this is a video, if these are video projects that you would like me to invest the time into showing you guys. I know that you guys are watching them, but I would like you to share them. I'd like you to talk about them. I would like the conversation under these videos to be a little bit more helpful. And, you know, I need to figure out how to do these videos really good. So essentially, going forward, I'm going to call them experiments, okay? Because I'm essentially experimenting with how to figure this type of stuff out and make it look good for everybody. So we're going to do that. And then if you guys like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. The more of you guys that follow the channel, the bigger we get, the more reach we're going to have to helping people find the best fit for them. I am all about showing you AMD features running on an AMD card. I'm all about showing you guys Nvidia features running on an Nvidia card. I like DLSS 4. I think it's fine. Like, I think it does an incredible job at what DLSS is trying to, like, it is the best we've seen yet, period, end of subject. DLSS 4 is literally the best at doing what DLSS is set out to do by making the image quality, clarity pristine. It is doing a very good job at that. And then bringing back some of that stripped out detail that DLSS 3.5 and all the other DLSSs have been doing. It's getting better, guys. I like it. Still a little bit sharp for my taste. I would like it if Nvidia could like tune the DLSS to kind of give it that, if it could look more like PSSR in terms of like softness, versus the hard lines that we get from DLSS, man, I think I would like it. I already like what it looks like. I'm actually coming around to the way it looks like on Cyberpunk, doing as much testing as I have, I'm like, okay, I do like this. It does look pretty good. It looks sharp, but I like this better. So, all right. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.